Few meetings trigger as much of an online chatter as the meeting between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Donald Trump. And this big meeting might happen quite soon. In fact, in the next month of June 2026. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been invited to attend the G7 summit to be held in France this year by the French President Emmanuel Macron. And sources say that Modi will most likely be in attendance. It is also significant that during the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi may happen to meet the US President Donald Trump, whom he last met in February last year, when Modi became one of the very first global leaders to meet the US President, who had just emerged victorious in the elections. Since then, however, much has changed, and the bilateral ties between the countries have seen a roller coaster ride of sorts. After the hostilities between India and Pakistan, and the US President's repeated attempts to claim credit for brokering peace between the two countries, while Pakistan had sung pains to Trump, India and Prime Minister Narendra Modi had clarified that there was absolutely no intervention of any third country in brokering a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Since then, India had seen the US President slap reciprocal tariffs of 25% on India, along with another 25% for purchase of Russian oil. Later on, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was set to meet the US President Donald Trump during the G7 summit that was held in Canada in 2025. Trump had left that meeting abruptly. While Trump had invited Modi to meet him in America, Modi had cited his prior commitments of a visit to Croatia for turning down the offer. A Wall Street Journal report had, however, said that the Indian side chose to opt out to avoid a possible meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir, who was also invited for a lunch by the US President around the same time. Trade ties further nosedived after that, and the two countries have been unable to iron out differences over the trade deal that is being discussed between the two sides. However, a major thaw was witnessed between the two countries in February 2026 when the two countries declared that they had arrived at a framework of the trade deal that is being discussed between the two. While the trade deal has seen delays since then, there have been attempts to improve relations between the two countries since then. So will the big Modi-Trump meeting iron out the trade bump between the India and US bilateral equations? Only time will tell. We'll keep tracking this major possible meeting between the US President Donald Trump and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is me, Shikha Salaria, reporting from New Delhi for the India Pro.